Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to help optimize no-look dipping. Ooh, making adjustments so you can stay focused on the game. The playoffs at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
The series is all tied up and things are getting spicy. We're wasting no time. Let's get into it with the lead. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday. As always, coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. Shout out to everyone in the Oilers Nation YouTube chat as well, where Evan Ferguson, he's in with the first comment, and he wants us to break some good news. He says, give us the news that Pietrangelo has been suspended for 3 and Nurse is getting nothing. I don't think we're going to have that good of news for you today on the show. But anyways, welcome in. The Oilers go and win. Shawn Belle for Star Mechanical stopping by. Much more fun to talk about Game 4 than Game 3.
100%. Way more fun. Last time was really somber. It was kind of weird, but, this is a much better performance by the Oilers. They cleaned up defensively. They were on the forecheck. They were physical. Like, that's the other team that I think everybody knows should always show up. And when they do, good things happen.
That Game 4 almost makes the Game 3 loss more frustrating because you're like, it was totally within your grasp 100%. To go play that well in the last game, Liam. But it was, again, for the third time in this series where 10 minutes into the first period, or I shouldn't say that, by the end of the first period, it's kind of like, ooh, there's very clearly one team in control and one team that is scrambling.
Yeah, we really haven't had that game yet where both teams are playing at their best and kind of waiting for that to happen. I hope it doesn't. I hope the Oilers just kind of cruise the rest of the way here. But yeah, it's been a very interesting series. But yeah, the Oilers took the bull by the horns last night and rode it all the way to the finish line.
And for the second time in this series, we got some serious fireworks at the end of the game as well. Price is Right style. How many total PIMs do you think there were last night, Shawn?
I'm going to go with 87.
I'm going to go with 96.
You are both well under 111 total penalty minutes last night. 64 to the Vegas Golden Knights and 47 to the Oilers. I think that what probably skewed it a little bit is that Pietrangelo would count as 15 alone, right?
They got a 10 as well.
5 and a 10 for him. We had Nurse getting 5, 2 for instigating, and an instigator misconduct as well. So Nurse racked up 17 on that one play as well. Brett Howden was randomly given a 10 at the end of the game as well. Remember, he clipped Skinner.
Oh, and that's right.
It was beer league style. It was like,
forgot about that.
It was like, you're going home. Yamamoto gets hit into the Knights bench. It's like, yeah, you're going home too. They just sent everyone home. And usually that's done to calm down the game. It did not have that effect at all. It almost pissed everyone else off more. That was something.
Well, it's kind of weird. Like, I'm watching the game and all of a sudden Yamamoto's getting sent down the tunnel. I'm like, what did he do? Like, for the most part, like, to give a 10, you've got to do something pretty egregious. Like, at least it used to be in the NHL.
Or you got to say something egregious, like something.
Yeah, but now they're just handing out 10s like Skittles. So, I mean, that's exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're all paying good money for. Is to see how best players go down the tunnel. All-star Chandler Stevenson. See you later. Unbelievable.
God, he was an all-star this year, hey?
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
I was watching, this is just totally came to me because I was thinking about some Golden Knights who have been a little underwhelming in this series. Was watching the game with some buddies last night. One of them goes, William Karlsson, he's hurt. And I was like, no, he's played in all 4 of these hockey games, but he's been an absolute ghost. And again, I think you could find a bunch of guys on this Golden Knights team who haven't made an impact. And it again comes back to, if the Oilers bring their A game, it's just no contest. And again, last night, that first 10 minutes of the first period, it was like, oh shit, they got it in this one.
Yeah, like the Oilers have such speed. They're big, they're physical. Like, they can basically bully this team at any point that they want. And they've kind of proven that over the course of the series. But, you just, like you mentioned earlier, why Game 3 is so frustrating is because if they would have just brought their B+, they're probably winning and they're probably up 3-1. But, the fact that we're sitting here tied 2-2, you're probably, as an Oiler, you're like, okay, we can go to Vegas. We've already taken one in Vegas, and then we'll come back home and hopefully win it, here in Edmonton. So it's looking up. They just got to come out with the jump that they show every single time they decide that they're ready to go.
All right, the chat wants us to talk suspension, so let's do it. Let's start, Aaron. Let's throw up the Pietrangelo here. This was just insane to see a guy like that. I mean, an Olympian, all-star, to lose his cool like that. And it's almost like the more you watch this play, the more you're like, what are you thinking? And I love the response from Connor McDavid, making sure that Pietrangelo doesn't go untouched after Pietrangelo wanted to throw there. Connor McDavid, I mean, in the moment, I would have loved to hear how that building exploded if it was a Connor McDavid tilt. In hindsight, you absolutely don't want him doing that. This is nowhere near a hockey play. As McDavid said after, it's as clear of intent to injure as you can get. There is nothing going on there other than Pietrangelo being pissed off, in a way, just acting like a baby and trying to hurt the best player in the series.
I couldn't agree more. Like, you know, for Pietrangelo, he's been getting abused all series. So, you know, I think there's a bit of frustration here. Like, I think it was maybe 3 shifts or 4 shifts earlier. He does get cross-checked from behind on by Kane. So, you know, there definitely is frustration on his part. He's probably not used to getting hit like this very often. So he comes up, he decides to hack him, you know, just there's no place for that in the league anymore.
No.
So is he going to get suspended? I hope so. But the track record for me, at least in my opinion, suggests that the NHL doesn't necessarily protect its star players. So fine, $5,000 fine, maybe incoming.
Oof.
However, the only saving grace I could see from it is the fact that Nurse got kicked out on what you could call a ticky-tack instigator.
Yeah.
And so they might just say, you know what, both of you guys are going to get a game, and we'll just make sure both fan bases are calm.
Yeah, let's watch the Darnell Nurse play here now. Like there's a couple things that I think might save Nurse on this play, Liam. One, you have the quotes coming out after from Stone, and I mean, if you watch the video, you can see Haig chirping at him for quite a bit before. Darnell Nurse's defense is he asked me to go off the faceoff. Yeah. And also, as the clip will loop back at some point here, and man, what a tilt also. Like, great what a fight between those two. Yeah. But Nurse doesn't take like a stride in, right? Like, he doesn't skate in, he glides in there and then eventually decides to jump Nick Haig a little bit. It is, I think you're right, ticky-tack on the instigator call. I could see him rescinding it, but I also think Shawn makes a good point, Liam. Like, I could also see them being like, Petro, Nurse, you know, in a way, best 2 defensemen on each team, you're both sitting a game and it's evened up. It doesn't make any sense because, like, Nurse can't hurt him by doing that. There's no intent to injure there. There's an intent to get into the fight and get an upper hand to start the fight. No intent to injure. Pietrangelo, there's no other way to frame it.
Yeah, it does feel very NHL to give them both one game each, right? Yeah. And just say, hey, we'll call it evens when one guy clearly was trying to damage the other guy. And I guess they both kind of were, but either way. Yeah, I don't know. This just seems like a weird one to me to give a suspension, but I can kind of see it going that way. But the Pietrangelo one, just to look like it feels like every time you watch it is like a little bit extra that you kind of notice. Like, look when he actually raises his stick to come down for the slash. He's at like the face-off dog. Yeah. Like, he takes a good couple of seconds of that stick in the air to swing it down on him. And I just can't see how George Peros can sit there and think, you know what, that's equivalent to one game of what Darnell Nurse did too. Like, for me, if you're going to suspend them both, sure. But if that's the case, Pietrangelo's got to get 2 and Nurse will get 1. I just don't see that happening at all. I think they either both get 1 or they both don't get any.
Part of the reason, though, I don't like the Darnell Nurse one is, like, as you see him gliding in, he obviously grabs Haig.
Yep.
And he waits for him to drop his gloves. Like, that's Darnell didn't just auto shed. Like, he waited, he held on to him. Haig drops his gloves right away and then starts throwing punches, and then you've got your fight. So, like, is it an instigator? Yes, because you came down from the blue and, you know, you grabbed him. But, like, this isn't, to me, an instigator penalty where you just go grab this guy and you get the advantage right out of the gates. Like, he's given them the opportunity, he obliges, and then they have a good fight.
Yeah, they give it. There was a respect in the dropping of the gloves, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah. And then you had Nurse after, like, what a vintage playoff moment, blowing the kisses, laugh. Like, he was laughing. Also, if you want to talk about the code even in this, you're right. Nurse waits for him to drop his gloves. Haig throws a cheap shot after the linesman get in as well. True. And that's when Nurse started laughing. So we'll watch the full tilt here. And Bagmill came in to make sure we were all properly fired up for that one. But, like, this is a vintage old-time scrap. Both these guys bloodied, like, bleeding from their mouths and laughing as they skate off the ice. And I didn't like that cheap shot there from Haig either. I think there are more than enough reasons to say this was a mutual fight. If the Oilers, I don't think you get the chance to have a hearing for these. I'm pretty sure it's just a league review, which is almost a shame because Nurse could have came loaded with some ammo. Like right before that, they showed a montage on the broadcast of all the moments where Hag and Nurse had been chirping each other throughout the series, not just the game.
It's been like 3 games in a row. So like instigator, no, this has been premeditated since game 2 or game 3. So, you know, it's I don't know. Once again, instigator, yes, because you came down from the blue. But if you're gonna give Nurse 1 for that, you better give Pietrangelo at minimum 1.
My final thought on it is absolutely wild that we're having a conversation on if a man who is coming in with 2 hands on his stick and tomahawking somebody should get suspended or not.
And that's
this
where I'm at.
Should be like written in the rules that like, yes, this is this many games. It's just wild. I don't know.
No fence sitting. Official prediction. I am actually saying 1 for Petro, none for Nurse.
I'm going to go 1-1.
I'm going to go 1-1 too.
All right. Well,
Also
maybe
NHL.
We may find out by the end of the show what could happen with that. There's one comment in here. YouTube chat's absolutely rocking right now, but Matthew is in and says, if we're going to talk about the Pietrangelo suspension, Kane cross-checking Pietrangelo last game is the same thing.
No.
And I actually couldn't disagree with that any less. That's 2 guys going into a scrum, and like Kane got a 2-minute cross-checking penalty or high sticking, whatever it was, stick to shoulder, and then it rides up a little bit. Like, it's a bad play. It's a penalty, but the intent there isn't really to injure the same way. Like, there is 0 hockey play in that at all from Pietrangelo, where at least with Kane, it's like okay, you can see he's going into a scrum and wants to engage with a guy. Yeah,
like on the Kane one, you know, guys were just trying to play out the period, and he was kind of like, we're not playing out the period. Like, I'm going to stir this up. That was a game where, you know, the Oilers are listless, and he's trying to add a little bit of spice to it. So he comes in, he's a little bit high with his hit, rides up from the shoulder. So it's not the same, because you look at Pietrangelo once again, like you guys already mentioned, he has his stick raised at the face-off dot, and he's ready to come down on this guy's wrist. Like, massive difference in my opinion.
And one other thing too, I actually think the one Kane play on Pietrangelo that was worse was when he boarded him, like moments before.
Yeah.
I'm kind of 50-50 on it, because Pietrangelo kind of turns into it a little bit, but either way, the NHL needs to protect players when they're in vulnerable positions like that. And I think that is way worse than the cross-check.
I think there was a little bit of Pietrangelo, like he got hit in the shoulder and then like turned into the boards. But I think you're right. I would like to see him go harder on that. Like that, that doesn't need to be a major in the way that I think some other calls throughout these playoffs should have been a major. Eberle on Cogliano, the one on Bouchard in OT against Vegas, Kempe on Bouchard. Like those should be majors. But yeah, this one, I think it could have been 2 for boarding. We'll get a look at it here.
He definitely turns into it. Kane can't really do anything about it, but it's still it's an awkward play, right?
Yeah, like the NHL does, they go out of their way to take headshots out.
Yeah.
But then you look at these plays here, and you're like, these might be just as bad as headshots.
I think so, yeah.
At some point, if you catch a guy in the wrong spot, and depending on how far away from the board is, like he could break his neck. So like, well, Cogliano. Yeah. So I don't understand why you think that's a better play than the headshot where the guy's coming, you know, east-west, and he basically tries to decapitate somebody. Like it's the same thing. You're putting your players in safety, so maybe crack down on that stuff.
Yep, for sure.
The chat actually just reminded me of another one early in the game, and like Vegas was unglued from the jump in this one. The Shea Theodore spear on Klim Kostin. But like again, when you see that replay, like okay, Kostin gives him a shot, they're battling, whatever. Theodore almost like turns around and like looks at the ref, and then is like, "Yeah, no, I'm still gonna do this," and it cost him because they go down 2-0 immediately. There were a lot, and I was tough on the officiating, and I said the officiating decided game 3 in a way. It was a part of it. Last night, I thought the officiating went the other way, where they missed some stuff on the Oilers. I thought Yamo could have gotten a cross-check on Stone. That was dirty. That one, I thought you could have called the boarding here on Evander Kane, on Pietrangelo as well. This is one where, I mean, maybe you call that third cross-check, but still, Theodore's the clear one there. I thought there were some missed calls on the Oilers in that one, but Vegas almost doesn't have much of a leg to stand on because, one, they still got 4 power plays in the game and just didn't take advantage of them. And 2, they made a ton of really dumb, undisciplined plays that led them to that point.
because the Oilers got under their skin. This is what the Oilers should have done in game 3 as well. I know the game was a little bit out of reach, but maybe you could have got it closer. Like, this team is good enough to score 4 goals in a period, but they did nothing in game 3 to cause that. And what they did in game 4, where they got under Vegas' skin early and caused penalties like that, allowed them to take the lead and basically cruise to victory in a way. So the Oilers just kind of got to keep doing that. We keep calling other teams rats. The Oilers got to be rats, to be honest. And they gotta be the aggressors, which they were last night. And they got to continue that, because clearly Vegas does not like to play that way.
Yeah, like, Vegas is a team, for the most part, over the course of the year, that took minimal penalties.
They were the least penalized team in the league.
Exactly. So the Oilers, the way that they're playing right now, they're almost playing a little bit of bully hockey, right? Like, they're being ultra physical. They're taking shots when they need to. So I think that's starting to wear on the Knights a little bit, because the last thing you want is every single time you touch the puck, your lips are up against a glass. Like, that sucks. So, guys are starting to get a little bit of frustrated for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're starting to see some of those, those ticky-tack calls. I mean, once again, like, you look at that Costin one, you probably could have called the third cross-check. The first two, he felt those. The third one's probably when he's like, I'm going to wear this for a bit. And then he decided to turn around and poke him. So, it's just starting to turn in terms of how the Oilers are playing, and now it's getting inside their heads.
And the thing with that too is it completely eliminates Vegas' star players. Jack Eichel was essentially irrelevant to the game last night, much like he was in game 2 when the Oilers allowed themselves to dictate the game with their aggression. And Mark Stone can play that way a little bit, but yeah, you're not really seeing Barbashev as much, right? Because they're being assholes when they're playing, and they do not want to be involved in that kind of hockey.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because actually when you talked about Yamamoto's cross-check on Stone, if you watch him coming back, like, he looks like he's in pain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
right? He was the last guy in the zone. The puck goes across the ice to the Ekholm, and then that's when he buries it. But like, he comes back and he looks like he's in trouble.
Yeah, I definitely thought they could have called that. As Christopher Palmer says in the chat, though, cross-checking feels illegal in the playoffs, and it is kind of getting to that point. Like, Cam Sharon at The Athletic, who does some stuff with DFO as well, he's actually gone and looked into the numbers of how later in a series, the penalties usually dive right down, and refs are way more hesitant because, again, they're doing the whole, I don't want to be the guy that decides this, right? And they let a ton more go as the series goes on. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues, or if the officials get maybe even a note from the supervisor of like, we can't let, like last night, we can't let that happen in game 5. Like, if you're on it early, it won't. And I mean, last night, I guess it still did. But anyways, I'm just interested to see how the trend of officiating will continue in this series.
Which is like such an interesting thing about it too. I feel like if you can consistently call the penalties, won't players just kind of adapt to what you're calling, and then just you would play more hockey, I feel like, than what kind of happened last night. It's awesome to watch, but eventually one of those star players is going to get hurt from a major slash like that.
Yeah, it's just setting that standard of play.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is what we're calling today. You send it out to all the teams, and then guys will adapt, just like you mentioned. So I definitely think they got to get rid of those cross checks, because those are getting some. They're getting a little bit hairy.
I have tweet notifications turned on for the Department of Player Safety and their account. So my phone keeps lighting up with tweets. It's just the Oilers sending out like press conference stuff, but I am eagerly anticipating that update from the Department of Player Safety. Okay, we've talked about all the extracurriculars, but let's really dive into the other parts of that hockey game. You know, the actual hockey that was played with our 3 big things for Betway 19+. Please play responsibly. Yesterday, we did a squad ride on Oilers win, Draisaitl 2+ points.
Yeah.
Him missing that empty netter by 6 inches is the reason we didn't hit our bet.
I know.
Pain.
And then the moment kind of erased itself after everything that happened. But yeah, I thought that too. I was like, man, that would have been a great low one. Yeah. But Bag Milk had a big one last night.
He emptied the clip on a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins goal, and that is our number one big thing. Nuggie, number 93, finds the back of the net for the first time in this series. The reaction from Connor McDavid when he scored, I mean, that's just heartwarming stuff. But the thing I liked about that shift where he scored, Nugent-Hopkins was buzzing. He wasn't around the perimeter, made a couple of nice physical plays, and then he does his little loop, and boom, find some open space. That was his best shift of the series, and it got him rewarded.
Yeah, like, I think he definitely needs to start to, pick that more up. Like, he was really good in that shift. He was physical, like you'd mentioned. He had a couple chances. He actually had one before that as well. And I think based off of Connor's reaction, like, he knew that the Nuge was clearly fighting it and wasn't having his best stuff so far in the playoffs. And hopefully that ignites him. And if it does, like, once again, like, Vegas, how are you going to stop this team now? Because Connor's going, Draisaitl's going. Now you potentially have Nuge.
Yeah.
Kane's being an ultra rat. So, like, you're starting to get these pieces going, and it's just going to make the Oilers harder to stop.
Yep, totally. And I love our boy Tristan Sergeant Battle in the chat. The low blocker special. Like, it was a vintage Nuge goal of pick it up, snapshot, low blocker, and every celebration he does for however many goals he has in the NHL is the exact same. It's the 1 foot up, little double fist bump. And there's Connor making sure Nugent-Hopkins gets some extra love after the goal that put the Oilers up 5-1 in that hockey game. And they scored 5, but they only really needed to score 2. And our second big thing is the fact that Stuart Skinner had an excellent hockey game.
Yes.
And there have been some games this year or in these playoffs where he's played like good, but it's gotten overshadowed. I think about like game 6 against LA where he was good, but Yamo scored the big goal. Skinner had the gaff. So like the good stat line and the big saves early kind of got buried. I don't want that to happen in this game. Skinner stopped 25-26 and made some huge stops early. The one on Mark Stone point blank before Yamamoto buried him was a massive stop. When the Oilers were shorthanded early in the game, first shift of the game, he made that one stop on Ekholm on the one-timer from the top of the circles. Excellent. That was a hell of a bounce back from Stuart Skinner.
Well, we talked about this last time I was in, making sure that Stuart Skinner was able to make those big saves because we hadn't seen that over the course of the playoffs. Like, he makes the ones that he's supposed to, but last night's game, he makes those big saves. He actually keeps the Oilers, in the game, not in the game, but he keeps it enough away of a separation between, the Oilers and the Knights that they don't get any momentum. So it was nice to see that happen. And if he can continue that, once again, it just adds a little bit more to the Oilers. Better team, harder to score against, deeper in the playoffs.
Yeah. Liam, Stu.
Great game.
Shout out to Woody for making the call too, right? I think,
Yeah.
We ran the poll in our chat. It was 55-45 Skinner Campbell. Woody stuck with his guy.
To me, it was never really a conversation, to be honest. I think you had to go with Skinner last night. Just the confidence thing too, right? If you turn away from him, then what does that do for him if you win that game? What do you do after that, right? So I think Skinner was fantastic. He obviously made a number of saves, but also the Oilers made his big saves savable, if that makes sense. Like, they didn't allow like 2-on-1s and all that kind of stuff. Like, the saves he had to make were great, but they weren't anything that he had to really extend himself to do. So I think just a credit all around to the team defense and everything. And this team was completely different last night. And whatever the team is in front of him is exactly what Stuart Skinner will be on a nightly basis, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because they did make life in front of him easier in that hockey game, but there were still some moments.
Big saves for sure.
And hey, that brings me right to my third big thing for Betway. Let me rattle off 5-on-5 shots against for the Oilers in this series. Game 1, 27. Game 2, 23. Game 3, 27. Last night, 13. That was the best game this blue line has played, Shawn. And I thought Vinny Desharnais made a couple of excellent plays, and one of them was actually on the first goal by Bjugstad, where Vinny just made a great little close of the gap, pinched his guy up against the boards. Boom. Vegas was trying to chip that in deep. They waited too long. Vinny squashed that play back the other way, back at the net, just like that. I thought everyone on the blue line was solid.
They were really good. They simplified their game. Like, they weren't trying to overextend in any way, shape, or form. Like, and that's usually when the other teams are the best because their defense they're good. Every single one of them is good. Like, Nurse is good, but there's no Cale Makars out here. So if you try to play like Cale Makar, you're usually going to get caught.
Yeah. And
they played to their strengths. They moved pucks quickly. They separated guys from the puck. It was a really, really good all-around game from the Oilers defense.
How awesome would it have been if Desharnais had buried that chance at the end?
And he's had a couple of looks now.
Yeah. That would have just been absolutely amazing. To see Desharnais coming down, snap it in. I think that building would have erupted louder than what Nuge did. It would have been unreal.
I agree with you on that for sure.
That would have been sweet.
Just looking, no Oilers defenseman got outshot at 5-on-5 in that hockey game. The worst stat line was Ceci, and the shots were 8-5. So, like, the fact that right there is the sixth defenseman on your little list of shots for, shots against, that says a lot. And I actually thought Ceci was really good on the PK last game. And you and I, we talked about that on the last show, like him not playing tough enough in front of his own net and not making those little plays that you want your defense first defenseman to make. I thought Ceci was much better last night.
Do you think Here's an interesting question.
Okay.
Is 6 defensemen better than 7 for the defenseman? I guess, Shawn, this would be a better question for you. Yeah.
Because you feel like you can get in the groove of the game, right? Like, I think when you have 7, you might miss a shift here. You're not used to missing those shifts. And all of a sudden now your minutes go from, let's say, 18 to 16. Like, it's a big difference because you're sitting on the bench, and sometimes guys just really like to get into the game, and they don't miss those extra shifts. So as a defenseman, it's way easier to go 12-6, but I understand why, the Oilers are going 11-7.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because it feels like whenever we talk about the defense a lot and how it's weak and all this stuff, but we always want the Oilers to play 11-7. But they played so well last night with 6 defensemen. So now it'd be interesting to see, like, next game what they're going to do. I guess that's all going to depend on if Nurse is playing or not too, right?
Yeah, because if Nurse is going to have to sit for the one game, you're bringing in Broberg. Oh, what do you do there? Like, let's walk down that line there, right? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've had this thought.
Okay.
Kept me up all night. Bouchard, Ekholm.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then I think you go Kulak, Deane as your second pairing. And then I would go Broberg, Ceci. And I mean, I don't think that, because the thing you can't go Broberg, Deane, right? That is just, it feels like a no-go. Or
I
can
think
you?
I think
You could? Yeah. Okay.
And I think Kulak Ceci could be interesting.
I think so too. My idea behind it was just you couldn't do Broberg and Deane.
What do you think?
I think you can.
Yeah.
Because you know what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, well, Nurse is out of the lineup. How can we get Ekholm, Bouchard, and Ceci out on the ice more?
Yes.
So instead of, they're not going to truly have a true 6-man rotation. It's going to be, okay, Ekholm, you're going to be with Bouchard. Okay, next shift you might be with Desharnais. Like, they'll mix it up to the point where it's like it's not even a factor.
Right.
But I don't mind what Broberg's been doing in the playoffs. Like, he's played a simple game. He's not really trying to overextend. Like, it's quick puck movement, get it to the forwards, and then get off the ice.
Yes.
And actually, Vinny was kind of, the same last night. So I don't mind it.
I think it would all come down to Broberg's a very sensible defenseman, but Desharnais would have to be sensible in that situation, right? For it to maybe work a little bit more. But they're definitely the counter opposites of each other, so it's not like they'd both be flying around the ice, would it?
QF Pro says maybe you run Brett Kulak, Cam Dineen.
Hey, we brought him in for a reason. What?
If you say Ryan Murray, I'm changing the shot. You're out of the show.
I was gonna say, do you bring in Niemelainen and go 7? Or do you think just a 6 is kind of you think 6? Yeah.
I think you can trust Broberg.
I think you can too. And I think eventually if he's part of this franchise, you've got to trust him at one point.
Yeah.
So hopefully it just doesn't get to that situation. They can just roll him lineup.
To be fair, the chat is torn, Liam. There's a bunch of people who are saying you can't go Broberg, Desharnais. There's some people saying you split up Ekholm and Bouchard and just try to keep one of them out there at all times. I wouldn't do that. If anything, in this situation, the hypothetical world of Nurse is suspended, Ekholm and Bouchard are probably playing 28 minutes in that scenario. You're going to need them.
I like that. Kulak's going to probably get more minutes. Like, in a pinch, he could probably be a 25-minute guy. It just depends how he plays the game. Like, the way he's been playing right now, where he's skating the puck tons, like, you probably don't want that. But in one game, 25 minutes out of Kulak, you're probably not in a bad position.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, too, the Oilers have been in this situation last season when Nurse got suspended for headbutting Danault, right? So, so it's been around.
Sit, what, game 6 or was it game 7?
It was game 4. Wasn't it game 3? He headbutted him.
Oh, I'm gonna have to double check it.
I think it was game 3, and the Oilers absolutely spanked LA. You were there.
Yeah, I was there.
They destroyed LA in LA, and everyone was like, "Oh, we don't need Nurse."
He was there, but he wasn't there.
yes, right.
It was game 5, so he had to sit game 6 for the must win. Yeah. That is interesting. And in game 7, they didn't play him that much. They only played him 20 minutes in game 7 as well. So yeah, this could be the second straight playoff run where Darnell Nurse is going to be forced to sit a game here. Game 5 goes Friday night in Vegas. We're going to be watching that bad boy down at Greta. Big playoff party.
Yes.
Place is going to be rocking.
It'll be a big one. We spoke about it yesterday. I'm excited for the food at Greta. That's what I look forward to the most.
Pizza
taquitos. Top notch.
Well, Bellsy, if you're free Friday, we'll see you then.
Sounds good.
Thanks for hopping in.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Shawn Belle for our friends at Star Mechanical. You can find them online, starmechanical.ca, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. And let's get back into this, Liam, with a little bit more talk for Boston Pizza and their new menu inspired by Fanalytics. Speaking of good food, that's not a bad spot to watch the playoffs at BP's either.
Do you see that?
No.
And my finger trapped in the microphone.
Well, you got to be careful. Hey, but it's the playoffs. Everyone's got to play injured every once in a while, you know?
We're all hurt. No one's injured.
Yeah. Also, what are you wearing?
Today I am in my banana shirt.
I wasn't worried. I knew that.
Oh.
I could recognize that on top of it.
This is a Nashville Sounds jersey that I went to a game a few years ago when I was in Nashville.
Okay.
And I think they are the Texas Rangers AAA team or AA team or something. It was amazing. I sat row 3 and their, what do you call it? Jumbotron is just a massive guitar.
And you bought a jersey.
It was $100.
I don't hate that choice.
700 Canadian.
Anyways, some numbers for our friends at Boston Pizza and their Fanalytics inspired menu. You mentioned 12 and 6, and we really drilled down on the 6 part of that. But let's talk a little bit about the 12 part of that and the way Jay Woodcroft split up his ice time, because there have been points in the series where we've been breaking down a game and you go, whoa, there were 10 different combinations of forwards who played at least a minute or at least 2 shifts together at 5-on-5. This was the breakdown of last game. The Oilers only ran 4 lines. These were the only combinations of 3 players that played more than 2 shifts together at any point in that hockey game. And then look how evenly it's split up as well. Kane, Draisaitl, Yamamoto, 739 in that game. And in that span, they did get outshot 5-4. The next trio up, McDavid, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins. That trio, 734, outshot the Vegas Golden Knights 8-0. Did not allow a shot when those 3 were all on the ice together. Bjugstad, Janmark, and Kostin played 640, and then Fogle, McLeod, and Derek Ryan played 433. I know Fogle and McLeod played a few more minutes later in the game, but not with Derek Ryan when Woodcroft started to blend things up. But that trio also outshot the Golden Knights 3-0. So Woody went with the 12 and 6 approach, and I think it actually paid off both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at it there, right, Draisaitl and McDavid didn't play together as much 5-on-5, and I think that's actually what's vital for this team, because the Oilers obviously have a ton of skill, but it does come from Draisaitl and McDavid, and you need that to be activated by those 2 players. So I think having them split up for large chunks of the game is critical for the rest of this series, and I think this is also just what the Oilers need in some familiarity when you go out there, right? Like
maybe
11 and 7, I think works very, very well, and I don't want that to go away. But sometimes when you're in a bit of a pinch and it's like, okay, well, we just got spanked in our own barn in game 3. We need to kind of get things rolling a little bit here. And I think it was good that Woodcroft went to this, and you got some strong minutes out of those bottom 6 forwards as well.
Just looking here, Guitar Maniac said that 10-71-37 line was outstanding. Adam is in and says, man, that bottom line makes a huge impact with little time. Very impressed with our depth. That's actually the line that stood out the most to me. One, Derek Ryan just doesn't make bad plays.
Never.
I don't think he's made an unforced error in these playoffs. He just gets it. And there are times where he'll turn it over or get bumped off a puck, but he never makes a dumb play with the puck on his stick. Bjugstad, Janmark, Kostin, I was surprised they played that much, but a lot of it came in garbage time when they were just rolling them out there when the score was kind of out of reach. So that skewed the numbers a little bit. If that was a close hockey game, I don't think this split would have been the same. And if this was a closer hockey game, maybe Woody would have tried to get Draisaitl and McDavid out there a little bit more. But at the end of the day, he had the luxury to play his depth more, and his depth rewarded him at varying points in that game.
Yeah, he did. And so I can't remember who said it, but that fourth line is what it is of the McLeod, Fogle, and Ryan is so effective every single time they go out there. And they really just play such simple, quick hockey. Yeah. It's something that Vegas just hasn't really been able to counter, which is very odd. But yeah, the fourth line and third line are just giving you such big minutes at the moment that they're critical. And we spoke about it yesterday, though, right? Where we said it's important that the depth shows up, but you need your best players to show up too. And I think last night was just a perfect recipe for the Oilers in all aspects.
Derek, the pharmacist Ryan, comes through for the Oilers in that hockey game and plays the least amount of anyone, but he played some noticeable minutes, and that's the point we're trying to make there. Let's move along to our cooler question of the day, brought to you by Labatt Canada and our friends at Greta. You know the cooler's going to be rocking when we get to Greta on Friday. Wheel this bad boy in, Gavin. Yep, over a bunch of cables, stuck on my mic stand. There we go.
It's in the shot. It's in the shot.
Is it in the shot? It's in the shot. All right. Where's our cooler question? There it is. It's a Bud Light today.
Ooh.
A nice, refreshing Bud Light, Liam. Is Adin Hill on the rat list? Run the Evander Kane clip again, because that'll give you your answer. My answer is yes. This dude is a rat. He's American Hockey League Jordan Binnington. He's Wish.com Jordan Binnington. This dude's the third string goalie of the Vegas Golden Knights who's made one career playoff start and has gotten lit up in one career playoff start. Yet he acts like he's got Vezinas and All-Star nods under his belt. The dude is a rat. Confirmed.
Confirmed. Rat.
Frank, tweet it. Sources say Adin Hill's a rat.
It is funny, Tyler, at the start of the series. Still a rat. Still a rat.
Adin Hill's still a rat. I don't care if the job.
At the start of the series, we spoke about like, oh, who's Vegas's rat? And we were like, I don't know. Like maybe Keegan Colasar, but we were unsure. The list is growing every single night.
Oh yeah, man.
Adin Hill. William Carrier took the award home after game 2.
Yeah.
Alex Pietrangelo, unexpected rat, I will admit.
Very unexpected
boy,
rat.
Oh boy, is he coming along quite nicely.
Yeah.
I'll give Nicholas Hague one too for
also
his
Nick
cheap
Hague on the rat list. Chandler Stevenson is not only a fraudulent NHL All-Star, he's also a rat.
Yeah, big rat. That is really growing. Braden McNabb, bit of a rat, but I will give him credit.
He's a big boy.
Tough as nails.
Yeah. William Karlsson, if he was playing in this series, he would be considered a rat. Tough one. Mike Amadio, 7 minutes a night. Tough to be a rat when you barely see the ice. Ivan Barbashev isn't doing a whole heck of a lot. Dash 2 last game. He's kind of a rat, though. Jonathan Marchessault, I actually kind of like him as a player, and I think he's fun to watch. But he's a little bit of a rat. Shea Theodore spearing guys in the junk. That's a rat move. Nick Hague, obviously a rat who throws punches after the linesmen have already came in. There are rats forming in this Golden Knights team, and it is hilarious when we sat at the beginning of the series and we're like, I don't know if there's anyone on this team that you can dislike. Oh, baby, there's guys on this team you can dislike. Big time.
I won't put Keegan Colasar on the list, though. I actually have a little bit of respect for him. He's going to stand up for himself. He's going to play hard. The elbow last night was a bit unnecessary, though.
Rat with pride.
Rat with pride, yes. Different category.
Yeah.
Brett Howden.
Brett Howden's a rat. Yeah. Although, that was a really bad call.
Which one?
The one on Skinner at the end.
He did it twice, though.
Okay, but the first time, I think, like, maybe I totally missed it on the replay. To me, it looked like on the first one, Skinner tried to, like, draw the penalty and just fell.
Oh, did he?
And then on the second one, Howden came through the crease, but it's like Skinner's in his net, sees Howden coming, and goes right to the top of the paint and then gets clipped. I was just kind of like, yeah.
Smart play.
I guess. I mean, I would argue not a smart play because the power play came too late and it hurts their percentage.
True. Damn used to it.
1 for 6 last night were the Oilers. Not good enough.
Brutal. What are we down to now? 51?
Actually, that's a great question. I'm going to double check that quickly. But yeah, the Oilers 1 for 6 on the power play, but that means they outscored the Golden Knights 3-1 at 5-on-5. That is a big, big win for the Oilers. Like a win within the win.
Especially is the biggest interesting point for me last night is Oilers killed a lot of narratives that were created between game 3 and 4 in the sense of, you know, they can't score 5-on-5. Like they kind of quit, right? They weren't bullying like they did. And then they came this around. Now for the rest of the series, the Oilers got to do this because I don't want to have a conversation on Sunday when we do this show again being like, why did the Oilers not show up? They need to show up big time in Vegas.
On Sunday, who should we extend an invite to for a Sunday show? Bellsy or Cowboy Chris?
Oh, boy. Both. Could have a full studio.
This studio is sweaty as hell, and that's with the amount of people we have now, which is 4.
I love Bellsy, but let's do Cowboy Chris because we had Cowboy Chris for when the Oilers eliminated the LA Kings. So we need a big one. Cowboy Chris has brought some good karma to the show.
We'll get Cowboy Chris in the mix for Sunday, unless he's busy coaching youth sports or whatever else he does on his weekends. Ron says, with an Edmonton series win, the Oilers have home ice in the Western Conference Final. That is correct. The Oilers would get home ice in the Western Conference Final, but you cannot look ahead. This series is a best of 3.
Yes.
The Oilers ain't up 3-1. The Oilers can't put the Golden Knights away. They got to play at least 2 more hockey games and 2 more damn good hockey games to get this series wrapped up. So we'll see.
Someone keeps asking if we've heard anything on Darnell Nurse yet. Not yet. if it happens during the show, we will keep you updated. But I don't think anything will come on Pietrangelo until on Nurse until we know about Pietrangelo. I don't think they're going to be at the same time.
No, probably not. I think it'll come like somewhat close because they won't want to keep everyone speculating and waiting. But yeah, I doubt the releases drop at the same time. We'll see what the Department of Player Safety decides to do that with this one. Christopher says Cowboy is still looking for his iPad. FIFA says Cowboy Chris. Ryan Sharp says Captain Felton should come in and hang out. I actually think he might be coming to the office anyways today. I don't know if he's watching. I know I extended the invite to him when I ran into him at the Oilers game. So we'll see. Dangerous Wade says, invite Jonathan Quick. Let's hear his perspective. You think there's any shot Vegas makes a goaltending change?
No. You know what? I don't know. No, I would say likely not, but I would not be shocked. But boy, oh boy, would I like to see Jonathan Quick in this series.
Me too.
I realize this light.
Was it ever on?
I don't know.
How much brighter did we just get? Probably a lot.
Yeah. Oops.
Oh, well.
Live studio show. One thing too, just on the Oilers, I think they've got to do with obviously talking about Aiden Hill being a rat. Let's get under his skin in Game 5.
I'd be going to the paint hard every time.
Every single time. Like you don't need to
spaz.
You gotta get under him. You gotta get it started because he's gonna lose his cool, and that's what's kind of helped the Oilers a little bit yesterday, right? It's not necessarily him, but just Vegas in general. So get on him early, get him going. Because clearly this team has no discipline when you're in the head.
Totally came unglued. How many PIMs did they? Yeah, Pietrangelo got 15 PIMs last night, which was the big one. And Darnell Nurse, I want to double check what they gave him.
Would have been a 5, a 10, and a 2, right?
Yeah, 17.
Yeah.
So those two right there, 32 penalty minutes within two players. Matthew Jogula, get Gene on. Gene on Owen Radio would be legendary. We've had Gene on Owen Radio in the past. Also, a new episode of that is going to drop tomorrow, so that'll help get you set for Game 5. We'll have this show tomorrow, Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of things. Maybe we'll try and get Frank on again. He told me he'd be open to doing 2 a week during the playoffs, and I said, listen, Frank, we're busy. We're a busy show. We got a lot going on. Got the cooler question.
I
said, Frank,
our rat list.
Yeah, we got the rat list we always need to update. I said, Frank, if we bring you on, when are we going to do the AMA Travel Out of Town scoreboard? And he said, I don't know what that is. I was like, oh, well.
You don't watch enough, Frank.
Yeah, you don't watch enough, Frank. Let's get to the AMA Travel Out of Town scoreboard. Last night, the Leafs stayed alive. Go, Leafs, go.
Go, Leafs, go.
I want them to lose in 7 so bad. So bad. I want that little Leaf garden they hang out in during the games outside. I want that to be so rocking, and then I want them to lose 4-0 on home ice in Game 7. I think it'd be so funny.
There's so many narratives I want to happen in that Leafs-Panthers series. They all result in the Leafs losing, but the first one I wanted was the Leafs to lose last night so that they would be the only team never to have a second-round win. That's obviously happened. So now I really, really want that Game 7 and for them to just collapse on home ice again. I think that would just be historical. And hysterical.
People are suggesting like guests for us to get on the show. People are saying we should get Jack Michaels on the show. Someone said NHL Sid. No one even knows what he looks like.
Never met NHL.
So yeah, I've never met NHL Sid, and he's worked here for a handful of years.
Longer than me.
Yeah. That is some. Tonight on the AMA Travel Out of Town scoreboard, we got Carolina looking to put away Jersey.
I don't think that series is done.
I think it is.
You think so?
I'll bet you a ice cold Bud Light. I'm taking the Canes on the puck line.
Ooh,
plus 185.
I am a fan of taking the puck line in an elimination game.
I know. We have no data to back it up, but we both like it.
A lot of heart, though. Hey, if Vegas is pulling the goalie in the Game 4 when you're down by 3, I think Jersey might pull it if they're down by a couple.
I think the logic there, though, Liam, would almost be if you think a team's going to win their elimination game, if you like the puck line, take 2.5. I might do that tonight. I might. Good you wants your dad, Tony, on the show.
He would love it. He would like. He's got a lot of opinions.
He's got takes.
He's got some big ones.
Yeah. Also, Dallas Seattle tonight is tied up at 2, so it's a best of 3 there. I'm rooting for Seattle hard.
What? Go Stars, go!
Why?
Because whatever the Dallas Stars do, the Edmonton Oilers do the next night. I am not messing with that mojo.
That's due to end.
No, go Stars. Do you want $100 on that one too? No,
we bet $100 on that.
Sorry, someone triggered my dad. So my dad and I made a bet last night.
Oh,
that my dad bet me $100 that Pietrangelo wouldn't get suspended.
How are you going to spend that $100? Because I think it's a lock.
I don't know. I think I might have a nice weekend with it. Maybe if I'll put it all on the Oilers to win on the puck line on Friday if I get it.
That'll set the tone for a good night.
Yeah,
at Greta.
one way or another.
Last time we were at Greta, we had a hell of an evening, so that'll be good. See, a lot of people are saying Go Stars go in the chat. Listen, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. There is no connection between the Oilers and Stars. It's just a coincidence. And I want Seattle next round if the Oilers make it. So
You're
there you go.
messing with Mojo, man. You're playing with fire.
I don't think so. Over 420 people watching the show, only 95 likes. If you're watching on the Oilersnation YouTube, hammer that like button here as we wrap up. Are you putting your money where your mouth is with those Stars and Devils thoughts? You parlaying those bad boys over on Betway?
Yeah, I may as well.
I'm playing the Canes, and I like the over in that game too. The goalies have been like weirdly bad.
Someone said no more Liam and Tyler. We have Tony and whatever Tyler's dead name is.
Tony and Ross.
That
would actually be so, like if we just started a show and it was just our dad sitting here and then they threw to the lead and it was just back to us.
Switched it back.
That'd be a great intro.
Magic trick. What were we up to? What was the other one you said?
I don't know.
Who plays tomorrow? Us and...
Yeah, it's a doubleheader tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Did they announce the game time for
Toronto,
game 5?
of course.
Oh, they did. So yeah, 5 o'clock start, Florida, Toronto, 8 o'clock start, Edmonton, Vegas. They dropped the puck early last night too. Did you notice that?
No,
it was
I
like
didn't.
an 8:10 puck drop, I think.
What time is it supposed to be?
Well, usually when it's the second of that back-to-back, it's like 8:22.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was nice. I know Greg has said in his show it'd be around 8:10, so I just assumed. But yeah, thanks NHL for only being 10 minutes late for your scheduled ice time. But yeah, we'll see. Have you announced what time the game is on Sunday, actually? Because that was TBD.
No, it's still TBD.
Okay.
It would depend because the Leafs, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if the Leafs force another game, they'd probably go some sort of a doubleheader. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they knocked up the Leafs game a little bit and did, because it's Sunday, if they did like a 3 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Mountain kind of thing on Sunday to get max viewers.
Makes a lot of sense.
And if it's just the Oilers, I could see 5 o'clock Mountain again.
Yeah, which is delightful.
That's fine.
On Mother's Day, too? Sunday's Mother's Day, yeah.
Get a
Give
win
the
for
moms
your
what
mom.
they want.
Hey, and that would be the Oilers finding a way to advance to round 2 on
Round 3.
Sunday. Or sorry, round 3, yes. Round 3. Oh, man. Streeter says, can we get some love for Nick Bjugstad?
We sure can.
We should. We didn't talk about that. He got that game started the right way. That turnover he forced, that's just kind of dog on a bone stuff. Costin fires it, misses the net. Bjugstad's on it. Aiden Hill, don't know what he's doing. Too worried about being a spaz and couldn't stop the wraparound. Bjugstad, was nice to see him get on the board for the first time this series as well. I like Zach Lang had a good tweet. In this house, we stand tall Derek Ryan. Shout out to Tyler Mulick.
Yes, tall Derek Ryan. Bjugstad has been a very effective player. I've thought there's obviously been a couple of times he's fallen off his little.
Yeah, he's plateaued a little.
Bit. But also for a man that we're paying $400K, boy oh boy, is he getting your value out of it. And I mean, considering the what was it, the cheap forward we brought in last season at the deadline, the fact that like the Oilers trusted him enough to play on the second line for periods of the series show the level of commitment they have to him. And I was kind of thinking about this on the way, and I think he's a guy you can't allow to walk in the offseason. Obviously, if the price gets kind of out of range, but if you're looking at like a decent value for him, I think he'd be a great fit.
I mean, him and Derek Ryan back, if they're each willing to do it for like $1 million, would be really interesting. I just don't know if that's
the most I would pay is like 1.5, 1.7 for Bjugstad. If he's going to be your third line setter and he's killing
short-term
penalties,
deal.
Yeah, 1 to 2 year. I mean, he's been very good. Might score 20 goals overall this season. I think he actually would.
If your centers next year were McDavid, Draisaitl, Bjugstad, McLeod, you're probably pretty happy.
Yeah. So last night was his 20th goal of the season. Everything considered.
That's
good
really
season.
good.
Yeah.
It's a really good season. All right, tomorrow, Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. No show Saturday, back on Sunday, confirmed, because there will be a Game 6 between the Oilers and Golden Knights. Tomorrow is tomorrow's gonna be a spicy one again. I think one team obviously will feel a bit of pressure towards the end, and maybe we'll get a similar reaction, but maybe we'll finally get a close game in this series as well.
I do think this Game 5 will be the best of both teams.
Yeah.
Ironically, both teams might be missing their best defenseman.
It's something.
We'll find out on
something.
that one, I think, in probably about
Keep it locked
Max
on the
30.
socials, for the results of the Nurse and Pietrangelo suspensions or non-suspensions potentially. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button before you go. Tons of people watching the show today, so we hope to see you again tomorrow for a Sherwood 4 Giant Game Day of things. Shout out to Betway, shout out to Shawn Belle for our friends at Star Mechanical, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. The cooler question for Labatt Canada and Greta, where we will be partying very hard tomorrow night. Boston Pizza, the new analytics menu, and AMA Travel. Head to amatravel.ca/dreams to find out more about how they can make your summer one to remember. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk tomorrow.